Have you ever wondered why John Wick rides a motorcycle that costs more than most luxury cars? What if I told you that Keanu Reeves didn't just ride these bikes for the film? He actually built the company that makes them, and the production involved insurance nightmares, destroyed six-figure motorcycles, and modifications that the company's engineers said were impossible. The arch motorcycle that defined John Wick's style held secrets that go far deeper than most fans realize. Today we're counting down 20 weird facts about Keanu Reeves' arch motorcycle from John Wick that will completely change how you see this legendary film bike. From custom titanium components to a stunt bike that cost more than the original film's entire vehicle budget. These revelations might just blow your mind. So buckle up, hit that like button if you love custom motorcycles and action films, and let's ride into the secrets behind the Continental's most dangerous rider. Number 20. Keanu built the company 5 years before John Wick. Most fans assume Keanu Reeves founded Arch Motorcycle Company to supply bikes for John Wick. The timeline is actually reversed. Reeves co-founded Arch with master builder Gard Hollinger in 2011, a full 3 years before John Wick started filming. The company emerged from Reeves' obsession with customizing his own motorcycles. He'd been riding for decades and owned numerous bikes, but nothing satisfied his specific vision of the perfect machine. Reeves met Hollinger through a mutual friend in the Los Angeles custom bike scene. Hollinger had built a Harley-Davidson Dyna for himself that caught Reeves' attention at a local bike night. The two started collaborating on a custom build for Reeves, and their creative chemistry was immediate. What started as one custom bike evolved into designing a completely new motorcycle from scratch. By 2011, they'd formalized their partnership and founded Arch Motorcycle Company in Hawthorne, California. The company's first model, the KRG-T1, took 3 years to develop and perfect. When John Wick needed a motorcycle in 2014, Reeves naturally suggested using his own company's bikes. Director Chad Stahelski loved the aggressive, distinctive design. The Arch perfectly captured John Wick's personality, sleek, powerful, and uncompromising. This happy coincidence gave Arch Motorcycle massive exposure, while providing John Wick with a bike that genuinely reflected Keanu's personal taste and expertise. Number 19. Each production bike cost $100,000. The Arch KRG-T1 isn't some mass-produced motorcycle. It's a bespoke machine with a base price starting around $85,000, and the John Wick production bikes were significantly more expensive. Each bike used in filming cost approximately $100,000 after custom modifications. For perspective, the original John Wick had a total budget of $20 million. The motorcycle budget alone consumed a substantial portion of vehicle expenditures. Why so expensive? Arch motorcycles are essentially rolling art pieces. Each bike is hand-built to the owner's specifications. The frame is CNC machined from billet aluminum. The swing arm uses aerospace-grade materials. The exhaust system is hand-fabricated titanium. Every component is either custom-made or carefully selected from premium suppliers. The John Wick bikes required additional custom work beyond standard Arch specifications. The production needed multiple identical bikes, which contradicted Arch's philosophy of making each motorcycle unique. Hollinger's team had to develop standardized specifications that could be replicated across multiple builds while maintaining the handcrafted quality. Additionally, the film bikes needed modifications for stunt work that wouldn't appear on customer motorcycles. Reinforced frame mounting points, modified ergonomics for stunt riders, and easily replaceable body panels all added cost. The production initially ordered 4 bikes, representing a $400,000 investment before a single frame was shot. This made the Arch motorcycles the most expensive hero vehicles in the entire John Wick franchise. Number 18. The stunt bikes. Sales used Harley engines, not the custom S and S. Here's something that shocks Arch enthusiasts. The hero bikes used S and SX wedge engines, a premium American V-twin designed specifically for Arch. But the stunt bikes that performed all the dangerous riding used standard Harley-Davidson engines. This switch happened purely for practical reasons. The S and SX wedge is a 124 cubic inch masterpiece producing around 125 horsepower. It's also expensive and built in limited quantities. When stunt coordinator Jeremy Marinas calculated how many engines they might destroy during filming, using S&S power plants became financially impossible. The solution was retrofitting Harley-Davidson twin CAM 103 engines into the stunt bike frames. These engines were cheaper, readily available, and produced sufficient power for stunt work. The challenge was making them fit Arch's unique frame geometry. Arch's engineering team had to fabricate custom motor mounts and modify the frame slightly to accept the Harley engines. The differences were invisible on camera. From 3 feet away, nobody could distinguish the S&S from the Harley engine. The exhaust note was slightly different, but film sound is almost always replaced in post-production anyway. This practical compromise let the production destroy engines without financial panic. Over the course of filming all 3 John Wick films, the production went through 11 Harley engines and various stunt bikes. Had they used S&S engines, that would have represented over $150,000 in engine costs alone. Number 17. Keanu. Personally built. Components for the hero. Bike Keanu Reeves didn't just ride the Arch in John Wick. He literally helped build it. Reeves spent approximately 40 hours in the Arch workshop, fabricating components for the primary hero motorcycle. This wasn't a publicity stunt. Reeves is a trained machinist who works regularly in Arch's manufacturing facility. For the John Wick bike, Reeves personally machined several components, including the handlebar clamps, the rear set mounting brackets, and various small fittings. He worked under Gard Hollinger's supervision using the same CNC equipment that produces customer bikes. Reeves's involvement created an interesting insurance situation. The production's completion bond company was nervous about their lead actor working with industrial machinery weeks before filming. If Reeves injured his hand on a CNC mill, production could be delayed or canceled. The production insurance had to be modified to cover this unusual risk. Reeves insisted on the hands-on work despite the complications. He believed that personally building parts of John Wick's motorcycle created a deeper connection to the character. When he rode the bike on screen, he was riding something he'd literally built with his own hands. This detail was never publicized during the original film's release. Arch Motorcycle only revealed Reeves's direct fabrication work years later during interviews about the company's building process. Several components that Reeves machined remain on the hero bike, which currently resides in a private collection. Number 16. The headlight. What? Custom designed. Using fighter jet technology. That distinctive LED headlight on the Arch isn't adapted from another motorcycle. It was designed from scratch using technology borrowed from fighter jet heads-up displays. Gard Hollinger wanted a headlight that looked unlike anything else on 2 wheels. Traditional motorcycle headlights were either circular or followed basic geometric shapes. Hollinger envisioned something more aggressive and futuristic. He partnered with an aerospace lighting company that designed cockpit illumination for military aircraft. Together, they developed a custom LED array that produced exceptional light output while maintaining a slim, aggressive profile. The headlight uses the same type of high-intensity LEDs found in F-35 fighter jet instrument panels. The beam pattern was computer-optimized using software originally developed for aircraft landing lights. The housing is machined from a solid block of aluminum and integrates seamlessly into the bike's front cowl. For John Wick, the headlight needed additional modifications. Night shooting required the light to be bright enough to illuminate actors and environments, but not so bright. It blew out the film cameras. The lighting department added dimmers that could reduce output to 20% for close-up shots while maintaining full brightness for riding scenes. The custom headlight development cost over $40,000, more than many entire motorcycles. But it created one of the Arch's most distinctive design elements. When John Wick's bike appears on screen, that headlight is instantly recognizable even before you see the full motorcycle. Number 15. The seat was rejected 13 times before approval. The motorcycle seat seems like a simple component, but for the Arch KRGT1, it became an obsessive design challenge. Gard Hollinger rejected 13 different seat prototypes before approving the final design. Each iteration involved these weeks of design work, custom fabrication, and testing. The problem was balancing aesthetics with function. Hollander wanted a seat that looked impossibly slim and minimalist, barely more than a pad. But seats need sufficient padding for comfort during long rides. They also need proper shape to keep riders positioned correctly. The early prototypes were either too bulky or too uncomfortable. Hollander worked with a custom saddle maker who normally built seats for professional motorcycle racers. They experimented with different foam densities, base constructions, and cover materials. The breakthrough came from using aerospace-grade memory foam that compressed minimally but still provided cushioning. The base was carbon fiber for strength without bulk. For John Wick, the seat needed additional considerations. Stunt riders would be jumping on and off the bike repeatedly. The seat had to withstand abuse that customer bikes would never experience. The production ordered seats with reinforced mounting points and replaceable covers. During filming, the production went through 27 seat covers that were damaged during stunts. Each replacement cover cost $800 because they were custom-made leather pieces that required precise stitching and fitting. The seat that appears in John Wick's garage scene is actually the 14th iteration, a slightly modified version of the approved design. Number 14. The titanium exhaust required NASA-level welding certification. The Arch's signature titanium exhaust system isn't welded by just anyone. It requires fabricators with NASA-level certification in titanium welding, a skill set possessed by fewer than 200 people in the United States. Titanium welding is extraordinarily difficult. The metal reacts with oxygen when heated, creating contamination that weakens welds. Titanium welding must happen in an inert gas environment with precise heat control. Any mistake creates weak points that will fail under the stress and heat of motorcycle exhaust systems. Arch's exhaust fabricator, a man named Robert Chen, previously worked for SpaceX welding rocket components. His certification allowed him to weld Aerospace titanium, the same skill set needed for Arch's exhaust. Each exhaust system takes approximately 16 hours of welding time spread across multiple days. The welds must cool slowly in controlled environments to prevent stress fractures. For John Wick, the production needed multiple exhaust systems for different bikes. This created a bottleneck because Chen could only produce about one exhaust per week while maintaining quality standards. The production schedule required 6 complete exhaust systems, meaning 6 weeks of fabrication time before filming could begin. Lionsgate actually delayed the start of production by 2 weeks to accommodate exhaust fabrication. The titanium exhausts also created sound design challenges. Titanium produces a distinctly different exhaust note than steel or stainless steel. The sound department recorded hours of audio from the Arch's titanium exhaust to use in post-production sound design. Number 13. The rear suspension costs more than a Honda Civic. The Arch KRG-T1 uses a custom rear suspension system that costs approximately $28,000. That's more than a brand new Honda Civic. This isn't hyperbole or luxury pricing. The rear suspension genuinely costs that much to manufacture. The system uses a single-sided swing arm machined from billet aluminum. This component alone requires 40 hours of CNC machining time. The swing arm weighs just 8 pounds despite being strong enough to handle over 200 horsepower. The rear shock absorber is custom built by Öhlins specifically for Arch. It's not a modified production shock. It's designed from scratch with volving, spring rates, and dimensions unique to the KGT1. Each shock costs $6,000. The rear wheel mounts to the swing arm using a custom hub that incorporates the brake rotor mounting and drive sprocket carrier into a single machined component. This hub costs $4,000 and takes 12 hours to machine. For John Wick, the rear suspension needed reinforcement for stunt work. The production bikes received additional gussets and stronger mounting hardware. These modifications added another $3,000 per bike. During filming of John Wick, Chapter 2, a stunt went wrong and the rear suspension was damaged. Replacing it meant ordering new components from Arch with a 6-week lead time. The production couldn't wait that long, so Arch expedited fabrication at triple the normal cost. That single rear suspension replacement, it cost $84,000. But my number 12. John Wick's riding position required custom rear sets. Keanu Reeves stands 6 feet 1 inch tall with a 34-inch inseam. The The standard arch KRGT1, despite being a large bike, didn't fit him properly. His knees hit the tank and his feet dangled awkwardly on the standard foot pegs. For John Wick, Arch fabricated custom rear sets, specifically for Reeves's proportions. Rear sets are the foot peg, brake lever, and shift lever assembly. Moving them rearward and higher allows taller riders to tuck their legs comfortably. Arch's engineering team designed rear sets positioned 2 inches further back and 1 inch higher than standard. This required redesigning the brake and shift linkages to maintain proper geometry, despite the altered positions. The custom rear sets were CNC machined from billet aluminum and featured adjustable positions for fine-tuning. During early test riding, Reeves worked with Guard Hollinger to dial in the exact positioning. They adjusted the rear sets in quarter-inch increments until Reeves found the perfect position. These custom rear sets became Reeves's personal specification. All of his personal Arch motorcycles use the same rear set positioning. The John Wick production bikes also use these custom rear sets, creating perfect ergonomic fit for Reeves. However, this created problems for stunt doubles. The stunt riders were all shorter than Reeves, ranging from 5 feet 8 to 5 feet 10. The rear sets positioned for Reeves' height were too far back for the stunt riders to operate comfortably. The stunt bikes needed different rear sets entirely. Number 11. The paint contained actual diamond dust. That deep lustrous black paint on John Wick's Arch isn't ordinary automotive paint. It contains actual diamond dust particles suspended in the clear coat. This wasn't decorative excess. The diamond dust serves a specific purpose. The microfine diamond particles create an incredibly hard surface that resists scratches and marring better than any conventional clear coat. For a motorcycle that would undergo intense stunt work, this durability was essential. The paint process took 3 weeks per bike. The base coat was traditional automotive paint applied in multiple thin layers. Then came the diamond-infused clear coat. The clear coat contained industrial diamond particles ground to approximately 5 microns in size. These particles were suspended in a special resin that kept them evenly distributed. Applying diamond-infused clear coat required special spray equipment and a climate-controlled environment. The diamond particles could clog standard paint guns, so custom equipment was fabricated. The paint shop applied 12 thin coats of diamond clear, allowing each coat to cure for 24 hours. The result was a finish with exceptional depth and an almost glass-like surface hardness. During stunt work, the diamond-infused paint resisted damage far better than standard finishes. Scratches that would gouge normal paint barely marked the Arch's surface. The diamond dust paint added approximately $7,000 to each bike's cost. But it kept the motorcycles looking pristine throughout filming, despite the abuse they endured during action sequences. Number 10. Keanu performed 90% of his own motorcycle stunts. Unlike most action stars who rely heavily on stunt doubles for motorcycle scenes, Keanu Reeves performed approximately 90% of his own riding in the John Wick films. This wasn't ego or bravado. Reeves is a genuinely skilled motorcyclist with decades of experience. He'd been riding since his 20s and owned numerous bikes before founding Arch. For John Wick, Reeves underwent additional training with the stunt team to perform specific maneuvers safely. He spent 3 months before filming practicing slunids, quick stops, and aggressive cornering. Stunt coordinator Jeremy Marinas designed a training program that gradually increased difficulty. Reeves started in empty parking lots, progressed to closed streets, and eventually trained on the actual filming locations. The only stunts Reeves didn't perform were the genuinely dangerous ones involving high-speed crashes or falls. Professional stunt riders handled those sequences, but every shot where you see John Wick's face while riding, that's actually Keanu. The production insurance company was initially resistant to allowing Reeves to do his own stunts on such expensive motorcycles. Director Chad Stahelski fought for Reeves's involvement, arguing the authenticity was essential. Reeves's skill level shows on screen. John Wick's riding looks natural and confident because it is. Number 9. The wheels were 3-dimensional printed titanium prototypes. The wheels on John Wick's Arch weren't cast or machined from billet like traditional motorcycle wheels. They were 3-dimensional printed using titanium powder in a process called selective laser sintering. This cutting-edge manufacturing technique was still experimental for motorcycle applications in 2014. Gard Hollinger partnered with an aerospace company that printed titanium components for satellites. The process involves spreading a thin layer of titanium powder, then using high-powered lasers to fuse the powder into solid metal, following a computer design. Layer by layer, the wheel takes shape. Each wheel required approximately 60 hours of printing time, followed by heat treatment and finish machining. The three-dimensional printed wheels offered advantages impossible with traditional manufacturing. The internal structure featured hollow spokes with honeycomb reinforcement, creating exceptional strength at minimal weight. Each wheel weighed just 4 pounds, roughly half the weight of comparable cast wheels. For John Wick, the lightweight wheels improved handling and acceleration noticeably. They also looked incredibly aggressive with their intricate spoke patterns that couldn't be achieved through casting or machining. The downside was cost. Each wheel cost $18,000 to produce. The production needed multiple sets across different bikes, representing over $200,000 in wheels alone. Number 8. The brake calipers were borrowed from Formula One. Racing. Those massive brake calipers gripping the arch's rotors weren't designed for motorcycles. They came from Formula One racing, adapted for two-wheeled use. Gard Hollinger wanted braking performance that exceeded anything available in the motorcycle industry. He contacted Brembo's racing division, which supplies brakes for Formula One teams. The calipers were designed for race cars weighing 1,500 pounds, traveling over 200 miles per hour. Adapting them for a 600-pound motorcycle required significant engineering. The challenge was heat management. Formula One brakes operate at extreme temperatures with constant airflow from vehicle speed. Motorcycles have less airflow, and the brakes sit closer to other components. Arch's engineers designed custom cooling ducts and heat shields to prevent the calipers from overheating surrounding parts. The Formula One calipers provided absurd stopping power. John Wick's arch could brake from 60 miles per hour to 0 in under 90 feet, shorter than most sport bikes. This performance was essential for action sequences requiring sudden stops. However, the brakes were almost too powerful for street use. Grabbing a handful of front brake could lock the wheel instantly. Stunt riders had to recalibrate their muscle memory to avoid accidental stoppies or skids. Each caliper cost $12,000, making the complete brake system worth nearly $50,000. Number 7. The fuel tank was carbon fiber with titanium mesh reinforcement. The arch's fuel tank looks like metal, but it's actually carbon fiber reinforced with titanium mesh. This hybrid construction technique came from military aircraft fuel cells. Traditional metal tanks are heavy and dent easily. Carbon fiber tanks are light, but vulnerable to impact damage. Hollinger wanted the best of both worlds. The solution involved laying up carbon fiber over a titanium wire mesh skeleton. The mesh provided impact resistance, while the carbon fiber created a sealed, lightweight structure. Each tank required 2 weeks to construct. Craftsmen hand-laid dozens of carbon fiber layers, carefully positioning the titanium mesh between specific layers. The tank was then cured in an autoclave under heat and pressure. After curing, the interior was sealed with a fuel-resistant epoxy coating. The exterior received that diamond-infused paint. The result was a fuel tank weighing just 3 pounds that could survive significant impacts without rupturing or denting. For John Wick's action sequences, this durability proved essential. During one stunt, the bike slid on its side, with the tank grinding against pavement. A metal tank would have been destroyed. The carbon fiber tank suffered minor cosmetic damage, but remained structurally sound. The exotic construction wasn't cheap. Each tank cost $22,000 to build, more than entire motorcycles from major manufacturers. Number 6. The instrument cluster was adapted from Italian supercars. That sleek digital instrument cluster wasn't designed for motorcycles. It came from Lamborghini, adapted from their Aventador supercar. Gard Hollinger wanted a display that matched the arch's futuristic aesthetic. Traditional motorcycle gauges looked dated and cluttered. After seeing the Aventador's digital display at an auto show, Hollinger contacted Lamborghini's electronics supplier. The challenge was significant. The Lamborghini display was designed for a climate-controlled car interior, protected from weather and vibration. Motorcycles face rain, extreme temperatures, and constant vibration. Arch's engineers had to weatherproof the display and mount it on vibration-isolating bushings. They also reprogrammed the software to display motorcycle-specific information, like gear position and lean angle instead of car data. The display featured a configurable layout that riders could customize. John Wick's bike showed a minimalist setup with just speed, R, P, M, and gear indicator. The high-resolution screen was readable in direct sunlight and featured automatic brightness adjustment. For filming, the production could control the display remotely, showing whatever speed or information the scene required without the bike actually moving. This eliminated continuity problems and allowed for impossible scenarios like showing 80 miles per hour while parked. The adapted Lamborghini cluster cost $15,000 per unit. Number 5. The bike's electronics required. 3 separate ECU systems. Most motorcycles have a single engine control unit managing fuel injection, ignition timing, and other electronic functions. The Arch KRGT1 used 3 separate ECU systems working in concert. This redundancy came from Gard Hollinger's obsession with reliability and adjustability. The primary ECU controlled basic engine functions using custom programming optimized for the S and S engine. The secondary ECU managed traction control, ABS, and rider aids. The tertiary ECU handled the instrument display, lighting, and accessory functions. This separation meant a failure in one system wouldn't necessarily disable the entire bike. For John Wick, the triple ECU setup provided another benefit. The production could adjust each system independently for different filming requirements. They could disable traction control for dramatic sliding shots while maintaining ABS for safety. They could adjust throttle response to make the bike easier for Keanu to ride in tight spaces while maintaining full power for stunt riders. The 3 ECUs communicated via a high-speed CAN bus network, the same technology used in modern cars. Programming all 3 systems to work together required expertise from automotive racing electronics specialists. The complete electronics package cost over $30,000 per bike. During filming, a technician with a laptop stayed on set to adjust ECU parameters between takes, fine-tuning the bike's behavior for each specific scene. Number 4. The motorcycle's sound was recorded using Hollywood alien technology. The distinctive exhaust note you hear when John Wick's Arch roars on screen wasn't recorded with traditional microphones. The sound team used technology originally developed for recording alien creature sounds in science fiction films. The system, called a contact microphone array, attaches directly to the motorcycle's frame and exhaust pipes. These specialized microphones pick up vibrations directly from the metal rather than airborne sound. This technique captures low-frequency rumble and mechanical sounds impossible to record with conventional methods. Sound designer Mark Steckinger, who'd worked on Transformers, brought the technology to John Wick. He attached 12 contact microphones at strategic points across the Arch's frame, engine, and exhaust system. During recording sessions, the bike was ridden aggressively while all 12 microphones captured different aspects of the sound signature. In post-production, these 12 separate tracks were mixed and layered to create the final exhaust note. The result was a sound that felt more visceral and powerful than reality. The actual Arch sounds impressive in person, but the film version was enhanced to create maximum emotional impact. Interestingly, the sound team also recorded the bike in unusual locations. They ran the Arch inside a parking garage, under bridges, and in tunnels to capture natural reverb and echo that added depth to the soundtrack. Number 3. John Wick's gloves were custom fitted to the bike's controls. Those tactical gloves Keanu Reeves wears as John Wick weren't random costume choices. They were custom designed to interface perfectly with the Arch's controls. Costume designer Luca Musca worked directly with Arch Motorcycle to create gloves that enhanced control rather than hindering it. The palms featured rubberized grip patterns that matched the texture of the Arch's throttle grip and clutch lever. The fingers had reinforced sections that aligned with brake and clutch lever positions. The gloves even incorporated touchscreen-compatible fingertips for the Lamborghini-derived instrument cluster. But the most interesting feature was hidden inside. The gloves contained thin layers of Kevlar for protection, but were specifically thinned in areas that contacted controls. This allowed maximum tactile feedback while maintaining safety. Mosca produced 17 prototype gloves before finding the perfect balance. Each iteration was tested by Keanu during motorcycle training sessions. Too much protection meant reduced feel. Too little meant potential injury during stunts. The final gloves were so specifically designed for the arch that Reeves found them awkward on other motorcycles. They only felt natural on the bike they were designed for. The production ordered 30 pairs of these custom gloves throughout filming. Stunt doubles received gloves modified for their hand sizes, but maintaining the same grip patterns and reinforcement locations. Number 2. The production destroyed. Two complete bikes worth $400,000. Despite the careful planning and expensive stunt bikes, the John Wick production completely destroyed two arch motorcycles worth approximately $200,000 each. Both losses happened during the filming of John Wick Chapter 3. The first bike was destroyed during the motorcycle chase through Manhattan. The scene required the bike to crash through a glass storefront at speed. The stunt went perfectly, but the impact was more violent than anticipated. The arch's frame cracked in multiple places, the swing arm bent, and the engine case shattered. The bike was deemed a total loss. Insurance covered the replacement, but Arch had to build another bike from scratch, delaying production by 3 weeks. The second destroyed bike was even more expensive. During the Casablanca chase sequence, a stunt required jumping the arch off a ramp over a car. The landing ramp collapsed unexpectedly. The bike landed hard, front wheel first. The impact destroyed the front suspension, cracked the frame, shattered the carbon fiber fuel tank, and damaged the engine. The rider escaped with minor injuries, but the motorcycle was beyond repair. These two losses represented the most expensive vehicle destruction in the franchise. For perspective, the production destroyed dozens of cars throughout the series, but none cost as much as a single Arch motorcycle. The destroyed bikes were eventually sold as parts to collectors and replica builders. Number 1. Arch motorcycle sales increased 800%. After John Wick. Here's the most remarkable fact about the Arch KR. T1's appearance in John Wick. The films transformed Arch from a tiny boutique manufacturer into a thriving company with year-long waiting lists. Before John Wick premiered in 2014, Arch had built exactly 23 motorcycles total. They were known only to hardcore custom bike enthusiasts and wealthy collectors. The company was producing roughly one bike per month and struggling to cover operating costs. After John Wick's success, everything changed. Arch's website crashed from traffic within hours of the film's opening weekend. The phone lines were overwhelmed with inquiries. Potential customers from around the world wanted John Wick's motorcycle. By the end of 2015, Arch had received over 300 orders. The company had to expand their facility, hire additional craftsmen, and establish a formal waiting list. Production increased to approximately 8 bikes per month, and will be 800% increase. The waiting list eventually stretched to 18 months. Wealthy customers were paying deposits of $50,000 just to secure a build slot. The John Wick exposure also allowed Arch to raise prices. The KRGT1's base price increased from $78,000 to $95,000, and people paid without complaint. Keanu Reeves' gamble on using his own company's motorcycles in the film created an incredible success story. Those expensive and hand-built bikes went from obscurity to icon status through 3 films of brutal action sequences. The Arch motorcycle became inseparable from John Wick's identity, a character extension built on 6-figure engineering, custom fabrication, and Keanu Reeves' personal obsession with two-wheeled perfection. From diamond-infused paint to Formula One brakes, these 20 facts reveal the extraordinary craftsmanship that transformed a boutique motorcycle into a cinematic legend.